The company tried to stay quiet about a grade 3 AC sprain.
So I had a grade 3 AC sprain, which means that my shoulder blade and my collarbone aren't connected anymore.
During a live stream, she used a homophobic slur. She even had a full-blown panic attack right before a major event.
My confidence definitely was tainted a little bit.
Here are 11 shocking clips of Rhea Ripley that WWE never wanted the public to see, starting with the homophobic slur incident. In April 2019, 22-year-old Ripley joined what seemed like a harmless Twitch stream run by wrestling personalities, where fans could donate money to request personalized insults. The setup was simple. Viewers would tip around $15 and ask to be roasted in different styles, like Australian slang, Spanish phrases, or other regional flavors. These interactive streams were growing popular in the wrestling community, sometimes linked to charity events. What began as light-hearted fun quickly turned into a career-defining controversy. On the evening of April 24, 2019, a male fan donated $15 asking specifically to be insulted in Australian slang, a nod to Ripley's Adelaide roots, and the response she gave would come to overshadow her early career. The incident sparked swift outrage, especially from the LGBTQ+ community within the wrestling fanbase, who saw it as a harmful reinforcement of anti-gay rhetoric, and within minutes, clips began circulating on social media, causing immediate and intense backlash. Fans compared it to WWE's handling of Lars Sullivan's past homophobic forum posts, questioning why Ripley faced less scrutiny despite her rising status, with critics pointing out what they saw as hypocrisy. Ripley responded quickly, posting an apology on X less than 2 hours after the clip surfaced, saying she had let her brain-to-mouth filter down and acknowledging that some words are unacceptable to many people. What stands out most is WWE's complete silence. Unlike high-profile cases with other wrestlers, they issued no statement, apology, or disciplinary action, and the Twitch VOD was deleted, erasing the clip from official archives, though fan-recorded snippets briefly circulated before being removed from platforms like X. While Ripley managed the controversy outside the ring, her hardest battle came from within, culminating in a panic attack just 2 hours before her high-stakes title defense against Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 40, showing that behind the fierce persona of Mommy and the Eradicator lies a deeply human story of vulnerability that WWE never wanted the audience to see, with WrestleMania 40 marking a pivotal moment in her career. She was defending her Women's World Championship on Night 1 at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, aiming to cement her status as the top female wrestler after a dominant run that included winning the title from Charlotte Flair the previous year, and the match itself became an 18-minute classic where Ripley retained her championship, but what happened backstage almost derailed everything. Ripley shared the experience in detail during an April 2024 appearance on the Insight with Chris Van Vliet podcast, explaining that she was having a full-blown panic attack just 2 hours before walking through the curtain, violently shaking from nerves, and clarifying that this went far beyond normal pre-match jitters, describing it as a complete body overwhelm caused by deep-seated confidence struggles fueled by online criticism and the immense expectations of being champion. She added that if you don't get nervous before going out, especially at WrestleMania, you probably don't love it enough. But this episode was unusually intense and completely took over her body.
My confidence definitely was tainted a little bit, which sucks because I try and keep it up and do my best all the time. I don't know if it was just something inside my head that just wasn't getting the picture, but I don't know, I got a little bit lost after that.
WWE chose not to publicize Ripley's panic attack, keeping it internal to preserve the company's polished image of unbreakable superstars, while support came from key backstage figures like talent relations executive Jason Jordan and chief content officer Triple H, who reassured her using their own experiences with performance anxiety. And the transformation she experienced once reaching the gorilla position showcased the remarkable mental fortitude required at WWE's highest level, with the panic dramatically subsiding as she stepped through alongside her entrance band, motionless in white, whose heavy metal riffs fueled her signature moshing entrance, and she recalled that all those nerves just flew away as she snapped into her fierce persona, entering the zone where she felt invincible. This moment tied into Ripley's broader confidence struggles, amplified by toxic online discourse where fans and critics scrutinized her promos, in-ring psychology, and booking decisions leading up to WrestleMania, turning the panic attack into a defining point that reinforced her resilience and inspired fans facing similar mental health battles. She had conquered her own fears, but in Oklahoma, the danger came from the crowd during an unusual fan barricade incident on October 16, 2023, at WWE Monday Night Raw in the Paycom Center, which WWE immediately tried to downplay and remove from the broadcast, occurring just weeks before Crown Jewel, where Ripley was set to defend her Women's World Championship, making the timing particularly awkward for WWE's production team, as the episode built momentum toward Crown Jewel with Ripley. Positioned as the unchallenged heel champion, complete with her signature purple lighting and commanding entrance that often drew massive crowd reactions. With over 12,000 fans in the arena creating a charged atmosphere, Ripley's entrance began as usual around 8:45 p.m. Central Standard Time, but midway through her walk to the ring, a male fan in the front row suddenly lunged over the barricade in an attempt to approach her directly, and what made the incident particularly ironic was the fan's attire, a black T-shirt featuring Dominic Mysterio's face referencing Mysterio's prison dom gimmick, adding a humorous twist given Ripley's on-screen adoptive mommy role over Mysterio. WWE security quickly restrained the fan while local Oklahoma City police were called in due to the breach, and he was handcuffed and escorted through the crowd toward an arena exit, all unfolding in real time as Ripley's music blared and purple strobes lit the venue, with the entire sequence lasting under 30 seconds and captured in a shaky fan-recorded video that went viral on social media. While Ripley remained professional, never breaking character and staring down ringside as security handled the chaos. True to form, WWE deliberately downplayed the incident during the live broadcast, showing no replay footage on the Titantron, with commentators ignoring it and production cutting away from wide shots to maintain the segment's momentum, and post-show WWE issued no official statement, consistent with their policy of prioritizing seamless storytelling over sensationalizing off-script moments. Though nothing embarrassed Ripley more than her comedic detour with the Robert Stone brand, a bizarre period in 2020 that has been almost entirely scrubbed from WWE's highlight reels. This was a comedic storyline that many fans felt was beneath Ripley's established nightmare persona, as the wilderness period following her high-profile loss of the NXT Women's Championship to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 36 saw WWE Creative place the former 300-day champion in a series of mid-card storylines that sharply contrasted with her intimidating dominance, highlighting Ripley's versatility by letting her embrace physical comedy and mockery, but also drawing criticism for underutilizing her athleticism and star power during a pivotal career moment. Robert Stone, formerly known as Robert Evans on the indie scene, debuted on NXT as a sleazy, opportunistic talent agent desperate for clients after being publicly fired by Chelsea Green on live television, and the feud's most infamous moment occurred on the June 17, 2020 episode when Stone, still disheveled, staggered to ringside carrying his booze bag during Aaliyah's match against Shirley, climbing the apron and vomiting directly onto Shirley, which distracted her long enough for Aaliyah to roll her up for a cheap pinfall victory. The comedic peak of the feud played out over two key matches, including the June 24, 2020 encounter where Ripley's dominance over the hapless Stone was on full display, with a pre-match dumpster incident in which Stone and Aaliyah ambushed Ripley during her entrance, but she no-sold their attacks and hoisted Stone into a conveniently placed dumpster ringside with his legs flailing comically, and the handicap match at NXT Great American Bash Night 1 on July 1, 2020 carried high stakes, featuring a stipulation that a Ripley loss would force her to sign with the Robert Stone brand. The match leaned heavily into comedic gags, with Stone's hesitant tags, Aaliyah's frantic covers, and Ripley's nonchalant double-team counters, including her ability to suplex both opponents at once, while Stone's cowardly slaps and failed figure four attempts drew laughs as Ripley toyed with him like a jobber before finishing the match with a double riptide, and critics called the storyline silly and pointless, a far cry from her intense battles with Shayna Baszler, contributing to perceptions that Ripley was drifting without purpose. The feud's serious counterpoint came in a steel cage match on September 8 against Mercedes Martinez, where Martinez targeted Ripley's legs with kendo stick shots in a vicious tone, but Stone immediately fired Martinez for failing him, disbanding the direct threat. If the comedy wasn't enough, a botched heroic rescue made Ripley look even worse during NXT's Golden Era on February 26, 2020, when she completely mishandled a rescue attempt in the main event between Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair, perfectly highlighting the tension between character presentation and live television reality in a moment so awkward that WWE consistently avoided it in highlight packages. The match was framed as Charlotte Flair sending a message to Ripley while giving Belair a rub against a main roster legend, with Flair making her first NXT TV appearance since August 2015, and after Flair's 12-minute victory, she escalated into heel brutality, screaming, "This is my house," and grabbing a steel chair to trap Belair's ankle before applying her figure-8 leg lock. And at the 2025 mark of Flair's beatdown, Ripley's heavy metal theme hit with her signature entrance pyro exploding. On stage, NXT Women's Champion and Charlotte Flair's upcoming WrestleMania opponent, Ripley's run-in was set up as a heroic "We Are NXT" save, positioning her as the brand's protector. But this is where the infamous botch occurred, as instead of sprinting to the ring with urgent hot tag timing, Ripley began her full choreographed entrance on the stage, including her trademark slow-motion stomp down the steps, high kick pose, head-banging to the music, and exaggerated arm swings, a routine that took 15 to 20 seconds while Flair continued torturing Belair, creating the absurd visual of Ripley posing dramatically while Belair writhed in pain below. The immediate fan reaction was brutal, with Twitter exploding in real time as posts highlighted the awkwardness, Uproxx calling it the worst moment of the night and labeling Ripley a goober for her slow WWE-style entrance animation that made her look ineffective, while Cage-Side Seats noted, Rhea Ripley came out to make the save, but casually did her entrance pose while Bianca was injured. Seriously, this was a bad way to go off the air. Years later, Ripley overcorrected, sparking outrage with a playful but polarizing stink face, a viral moment that occurred on March 23, 2024 during a triple-threat WWE Women's World Championship match at the Bank of Springfield Center in Springfield, Illinois, where she faced Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler during WWE's post-elimination chamber tour leading into WrestleMania 40. Midway through the match, around the 8-10-minute mark, Ripley isolated Jax in the corner following a Baszler distraction, and with Jax slumped against the turnbuckles, Ripley channeled Ricochet's classic Attitude-era stink face, turning her back to Jax, grabbing the top rope for leverage, and repeatedly pressing her glutes into Jax's face while shaking her hips in exaggerated fashion. The sequence lasted about 10 to 15 seconds, complete with Ripley's signature cackle and the crowd erupting in cheers and laughter, and by Sunday morning, the clip had broken the internet, spreading rapidly across X, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram Reels. But the spot's viral momentum clashed with WWE's ongoing push for women's wrestling legitimacy, drawing sharp criticism from Becky Lynch, Ripley's WrestleMania 40 opponent, who in multiple interviews between March 28 and 30th framed it as a setback for progress, noting that while the spot is fun in isolation, its amplification on social media reinforces outdated tropes and risks discouraging young fans from viewing wrestling as a skill-based art rather than a spectacle focused on physical appeal. Ripley, known for her unapologetic persona, fired back in interviews, asking if she was not allowed to have fun and claiming, "I get criticism for every single little thing I do. You're just mad that I'm popular, that's why." And while fans debated fun versus respect, Ripley was secretly battling a serious hidden injury, one of WWE's most egregious examples of injury misrepresentation, which occurred after her devastating accident during a fatal four-way match on June 6, 2022 at the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where Ripley faced Liv Morgan, Dakota Kai, and Alexa Bliss for a #1 contender spot to the Raw Women's Championship, with the pivotal moment coming during an exchange between Ripley and Morgan when Morgan executed her signature Oblivion jumping DDT. As the move was executed, Ripley's body arched awkwardly toward the ropes, with her right leg catching and draping over the middle rope, creating dangerous tension, and upon hitting the mat, the rope acted like a slingshot, causing her leg to snap back violently and her own knee to strike her face with significant force, an impact audible on the broadcast and described in fan footage as a freakish, self-inflicted knee strike, yet commentators didn't immediately flag it as serious, focusing instead on the match's flow. Remarkably, Ripley powered through, breaking up pin attempts and ultimately sealing victory with her riptide finisher, showing no overt signs of distress despite sustaining both a concussion and dental damage, and WWE's damage control was swift but deliberately misleading, announcing on June 13, 2022 that she had suffered a mouth injury in the fatal four-way that would keep her out of Money in the Bank, phrasing that avoided any mention of the concussion, a common WWE practice to minimize liability around brain injuries. The full story only came out when Ripley revealed the truth on Instagram, bluntly responding to a fan, "You don't look injured," like someone said, highlighting her frustration with WWE's opacity and emphasizing the invisibility of concussions, and despite the injury, she continued her edgy persona, soon shocking the world with a face-licking viral moment on the July 22, 2024 episode of Monday Night Raw, a provocative and boundary-pushing segment that WWE has been notably cautious about replaying despite its massive viral success. This pivotal backstage segment took place at the Resch Center in Green Bay, Wisconsin, serving as a key escalation in the ongoing storyline involving Ripley, Dominic Mysterio, and Women's World Champion Liv Morgan, with the narrative building through Morgan's revenge tour, where she targeted Mysterio with seductive advances including flirty texts, gifting chicken nuggets, and staging compromising backstage moments. The segment was positioned as a make-or-break moment for Mysterio's allegiance, with Ripley forcing a public confrontation ahead of their SummerSlam mixed tag team match, opening with Ripley storming to the ring and yanking a hooded, visibly nervous Mysterio by the arm like a scolded child, a visual callback to their dominant mommy and her dirty little boy dynamic. Morgan taunted dramatically from the arena's staircase, refusing to enter the ring while emotionally manipulating Mysterio, and after a tense confrontation in which Mysterio delivered a rare fiery promo declaring his hatred for Morgan and calling her a cabrona, the defining moment occurred as Ripley's stern expression melted into relief, pulling Mysterio close, planting a lingering kiss on his cheek that left a bold red lipstick mark, and then, in a spontaneous, character-defining twist, licking the side of his face from jawline to temple. The crowd's reaction was thunderous, mixing shocked gasps, laughter, and roaring approval at Ripley's unhinged energy, while commentary went wild, with Pat McAfee screaming, "Rhea just licked him. This is diabolical. Corey, what is happening?" And Corey Graves quipping, "Mommy's marking her territory," as the clip immediately exploded online, trending #RheaLicksDom and #DirtyDom worldwide on X within minutes. In a revealing June 2025 interview, Ripley disclosed that Triple H had suggested the lick, telling her, "Don't kiss him, lick him. It'll be perfect for your character," to which she thought, "Yeah, that's mommy." That infamous lick wasn't the last, as Ripley doubled down during a WWE-partnered live auction stream on November 25, 2023, just hours before Survivor Series, capturing her in a spontaneous, provocative moment that went viral while highlighting the tension between her bold, mommy character and WWE's sanitized programming. The stream, a pre-Survivor Series special featuring stars like The New Day, Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, Tyler Breeze, and The Miz, used Fanatic Live's interactive format, blending auctions with casual banter to encourage improvisation and boost engagement, with bidding starting around $200 to $230. Midway through Ripley's segment, she was handed a blank index card for autographing, and with a smirk, she signed it, added her catchphrase, "Mommy is always on top," marked an X on the card, wrote, "I licked here next to it," and deliberately extended her tongue to lick the marked spot, leaving a visible wet sheen on the paper while holding it up to the camera. The action was theatrical, with Ripley tilting her head, making eye contact with the camera, and grinning wickedly, fully embracing her. Thirsty fan service side, while the chat exploded with fire emojis and "mommy," as bids surged from $230 to over $400 within seconds, ultimately ending at $580 and won by an anonymous collector, with Ripley later tweeting, "I know my fans. You're welcome," owning the moment without apology. Behind the viral chaos, however, her reign ended painfully with a devastating shoulder injury, revealing WWE's ongoing attempt to control the narrative around Ripley's legitimate injuries, which occurred during the April 8, 2024 episode of Monday Night Raw, just 1 week after WrestleMania 40, while she was the reigning WWE Women's World Champion, holding the title for a record-breaking 380 days as leader of the Judgment Day faction. The injury happened during an intense backstage brawl with longtime rival Liv Morgan, part of Morgan's Revenge Tour storyline seeking payback for a shoulder injury she had sustained at Ripley's hands in July 2023, and during the chaotic fight, Morgan threw Ripley shoulder first into a production wall, causing immediate and severe damage to her right shoulder, described by eyewitnesses as a freak accident with an awkward and forceful wall connection. Known for her toughness, Ripley broke character during the segment, visibly clutching her arm and pleading for the assault to stop as Morgan continued punching her injured shoulder, later revealing, "I was like, stop. Stop. Stop." It was real pain, and the injury was diagnosed as a severe grade 3 AC joint sprain, involving complete tears of the ligaments holding the joint together. Ripley later revealed the full extent of the injury, explaining, "My collarbone and shoulder blade got ripped apart. The only way to get them back together is through surgery, and I opted not. So, it was either surgery, you have a scar, or no surgery, you have a massive lump in your shoulder," and the injury abruptly ended her championship reign when she opened the following Raw in a sling, tearfully vacating the Women's World Championship in what she called the hardest decision of her career. Initial recovery estimates of 3 to 4 months were beaten as Ripley returned by July 29, 2024, though she suffered a dramatic shoulder dislocation during her SummerSlam match, heroically slamming it back into place on the commentary table, and by May 2025, she admitted the injury contributed to a rollercoaster 12 months, breaking down over the emotional toll and physical setbacks, describing ongoing pain and instability, and confessing she might need corrective surgery as the non-surgical route left residual issues like reduced power and vulnerability to reign jury. Alongside these struggles came professional frustrations, including battles with WWE's merchandise design team from 2022 to 2023, revealing a side of Ripley the company preferred to keep behind closed doors, as this period marked her transition from NXT darling to main roster powerhouse. But her distinctive gothic punk aesthetic clashed sharply with WWE's corporate merchandising machine, stemming from a deliberate personal reinvention that began in 2018 when she ditched her long blonde hair for a black, spiked look incorporating punk metal elements, allowing her to express a side of herself she had always wanted to show but never thought would fit societal molds. However, WWE's merchandise ecosystem prioritized broad appeal and family-friendly designs over niche aesthetics, creating a fundamental mismatch with Ripley's goth-like character and clear affinity for the color black. And the tension peaked as Ripley climbed the merchandise charts, ranking number 5 in WWE's overall top sellers for 2023, behind only Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Louisiana Knight, and John Cena, with monthly breakdowns showing her consistently in the top 10 from mid-2022 onward and spikes around major events like Royal Rumble 2023 and WrestleMania 39. Despite her commercial success, early merch offerings felt mismatched and cartoonish, failing to capture her brooding, metal-inspired intensity, with Reddit discussions from the era highlighting fan backlash, including one user quipping that WWE needed to hire someone decent to design shirts that could be worn outside arenas. Ripley was vocal and occasionally theatrical in rejecting designs that didn't fit, with fans sharing clips and memes of her dismissing cheesy fan-made or prototype merch during live events, often with a smirk or eye roll that amplified her heel persona, and the most documented example of her pushback came in February 2025 during a backstage segment on Logan Paul's YouTube channel.
I know a lot about merch, and I have I think a good idea for you. Okay, so you know how you say, this is my brutality? This is my brutality shirt. And this is like the first kind of like mock-up that I did, but...
You know, my dad would really love this shirt.
You could give it to him, but yeah, no, take the idea.
Ripley's dismissive response instantly went viral, gaining attention for its sharp shade and unapologetic attitude.
I don't owe you anything.
No, that one's on the house, Rhea. Okay. And I'm full of ideas. I have more. Yeah. Just let me know. Because I think people would be like, bro, this is my brutality shirt.
I mean, they would.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I don't.
Thank you, yeah, thank you.
Ripley quipped, "I don't owe you anything," before discarding Paul's design concept, an incident in 2025 that perfectly mirrored the spirit of her 2022 to 2023 rejections of WWE's corporate-approved designs. And if you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes on your screen to watch more similar content.